Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest on the Tory rebellion as they push to gather more support from Tory MPs and attempt to put pressure on Sunak to stand down voluntarily to make the process of replacing him easier. But are they gathering more support for another change of leader, or are they only acting to make the Conservative Party look even more dysfunctional? But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So the drums of war are being sounded again within the Tory party. Despite the public excuses for the by-election losses last week, Tory MPs know that they are the herald of woe for them. They keep talking about a 1997 style drubbing, but they're actually running the risk of making their 1997 results look decent by comparison. One of their major problems is that they just do not know where to win support from. Some want to target Reform UK voters, but there are two major problems with this. The first is that they're working on the assumption that Reform UK voters are just disaffected Conservative voters and will return to the mother party if the policies were changed. This is not true. Polling makes that clear. Second is that chasing after the Reform UK voters is actively putting off the don't know voters who will support the Conservatives if they see them actually fixing some of the things they broke. They want to see public services improve. They want to see the cost of living being addressed. And whereas other Tory MPs recognise that chasing after the Reform UK support is pointless and there are more votes to be won in the centre, because apart from anything else, every vote they win in the centre is worth twice as much as one won from Reform UK, because it also costs their rivals a vote as well, mostly Labour. And it's this schism of thinking which makes replacing the leader a complete non-starter. I mean, apart from the fact that it would make the party look like clowns and there just isn't the time to get over another damaging leadership contest. But these rebels keep insisting that plans are afoot to replace Sunak by the end of May now. The latest plan, cobbled together from, what they've been telling The Guardian, The Mirror and The Times, is that they're trying to put pressure on Sunak just to resign voluntarily, to avoid a damaging coup. Then they think that a compromise candidate needs to be found to ease the damage which a full-blown leadership contest would cause. They also say that if Sunak doesn't step down voluntarily, and there's, I think there's more chance of him calling an election than standing down, then they're going to use the local election results to persuade their colleagues in Parliament to give Sunak the tap on the shoulder. Which is, of course, assuming that the general election has not already taken place by then. Now, anything is possible, of course, where the behaviour of idiot politicians is concerned, but I'm not really seeing it. Because we've heard these plans before. There was supposed to be a coup last month. At the end of last year, the Express reported, the rebels, they just need to agree on which candidate they want to back, and then they're going to so they're going to spend up until January agreeing who to get behind, then they're going to bring Sunak down. Didn't happen. Didn't even come close to happening. They couldn't agree on a candidate. They're too divided. Never happened. Then you have the obvious problem. So who would you replace Sunak with? I know why they're thinking they can afford to wait until May to replace him. They're thinking about 2019, when they toppled Theresa May. She announced her resignation in May, after getting the famous tap on the shoulder from the men in grey suits, and the party went on to win the election 7 months later with a very hefty majority. We could do that again, they're thinking. But of course they can't. At the time, Labour were as unpopular as they were, but they weren't taking the issues as seriously, so they didn't ever rescue their popularity. And the Tories had an obvious candidate waiting in the wings. They sort of thought, well, Boris Johnson will appeal to the public. He's an election winner. So they sort of had someone ready. Even though there was a full leadership contest and several people took part, they sort of knew Boris Johnson was going to win. Right now, Labour are seen as a viable government. They've been 20 points ahead in the polls for over a year. In addition, there is no obvious candidate for them. They don't have anyone waiting in the wings. There's absolutely nobody whom the Tories can have confidence is a proven election winner. These rebels strike me as being utterly clownish. There's a quote from one of them in The Guardian where they discuss this plan and they say, but the letters aren't going in just yet. We're holding on. We're trying to persuade Sunak just to step down voluntarily. And this, they say, is why we're not hearing much noise about it. I'm thinking, mate, I'm reading about it in The Guardian, The Mirror and The Times. How much more noise can you make than revealing your plans to the mainstream media? Then there are the three main problems to consider when it comes to replacing Sunak with a different leader. The first, of course, is obvious. All of the front runners to replace Sunak are lacking in any sort of record of achievement. Sunak is useless, yes, but so too are the replacements being lined up. The second is that each of the possible replacements are sort of unknown quantity in terms of public reaction. Like, you've got to think about the potential skeletons in the closet. Give you a classic example. Kemi Badenoch, right now, this week, is losing a fight over her reputation with the post office scandal. Now, imagine you replace Sunak in the next month or so. Let's say you persuade him to step down. She becomes leader. And, before the election, her enhanced status as Prime Minister now would attract more attention to her role in potentially stalling compensation payments. Yet she is one of the favourites to win. The Tories could end up with someone whose reputation tanks to even lower levels than Sunak has. Because consider, the public don't really have a lot against Sunak. They should, but they don't. They don't really think ill of him as a person. They just think he's a crap Prime Minister, a bit out of touch. They sort of think, he means well, but he's a bit rubbish. If the public see Badenoch as actually being corrupt, she was the one who blocked these payments, compensation payments, that could be far worse. And the third problem, there is no compromise candidate. There's absolutely zero way that the One Nation Tories and the far-right groups agree to coalesce around a single candidate just for the sake of a smooth transition. Because as far as the MPs, there's lots of MPs who are standing down and thinking of standing down, and they're out of it. They're away with the fairies, right? They're not interested. But the MPs who want to stay and fight for their party, they believe there's an existential battle for the future direction of that party. The One Nation Tories believe that the party has to move away from the far right, back to the centre in order to save itself. The far right believe that the party needs to move further to the right to save itself. There is no leader who can convince both wings of the party that they're going to do what they want when what they want is mutually exclusive. So, repeating my caveat that MPs are mostly idiots and can behave in the most illogical ways, I am just not seeing it. I think what we have here are a few noisy rebels who keep talking to people in the media, and the media will write it up because why wouldn't you? I think they're too few in number, and I think they're too divided to agree on a replacement. I think even the loonies in the party recognise that they cannot afford a bitter, protracted leadership contest of the likes they had in 2022. And so they need to agree the replacement behind closed doors. And if they cannot do that, they cannot actually change the leader. I do not see them doing that, so I do not see them changing the leader before the election, no matter when the election is. So all the rebels are actually doing is making their party look unstable with this constant talk of bringing the leader down. This notion of trying to persuade more Tory MPs to support ousting Sunak after local elections is just mad. Like, who now can think that the local election results for the Tories won't be a skip fire if the general election is delayed until autumn? All Tory MPs must know that the results are just going to be universally awful now. If there's a significant number of them that think, maybe the tax cuts announced in the budget next month will do the trick, they've really lost the plot. Because if that would have done the trick, they would have already announced them. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.